Greetings, travelers. Stippling here with a look at set number 71315, Quake Beast. One of the villains in the summer 2016 wave of Bionicle. This guy has the smallest parts count of the villains, but he looks like he still packs a punch. Let us wake the Quake. The instructions that come with this set run all the way up to page 38. And then also include an inventory of parts, an advertisement for the 2016 summer line where Onua faces off against the Quake Beast, and some information about the combiner model. And that's it. So this is a culmination of all the parts, but let's partition out what is exclusive to this set or new for the summer 2016 line. So when taking out bone pieces, armor, and various Technic elements, and we focus solely on the new stuff, this is what we've got. We have 3 of these crystalline armor pieces in trans purple. Now these look really great. They're actually a little bit darker in person than you're seeing here on the camera, but they look fantastic. As with all crystalline armor pieces this wave, they do not have half-size pins for attaching armor attachments. Instead, what you see is what you get for these armors, so you just attach them to any bone piece like so, and there's your texture. This skeletal body piece originated in the CCBS Star Wars line in the fall of 2016. It also showed up in the Storm Beast set this wave. With all the villains in the summer 2016 wave, we have the Bionicle head in a trans neon greenish yellow. And with all the beasts, you also have a return of the 2015 brainstock, also in trans neon greenish yellow. You'll see when the set's built up that this actually sits a bit higher than the actual eyes, so you're just using it as an attachment point. While we already have the mask in hand, this is the same mold for all the beasts that is included in this wave. And this one goes from a purple to a trans neon greenish yellow. The other mask included in this set is a corrupted or depleted Onua's mask, Unity mask, where it goes from black to trans neon greenish yellow. A lot of the official artwork showcases this trans neon greenish yellow almost as a slime, oozing and flowing around different objects. So this may be a corrupted or infected version of the mask. This is your typical CCBS armor attachment breastplate. This one's in black. It's got a lot of interesting colors, almost a magenta in there. Magenta, some purple, and then the greenish yellow neon. While I like the colors of this, I'm not overly happy about it in the sense that a lot of three-dimensional objects, when they're printed on here, look kind of strange. That goes over the essential parts in this box, so let's go ahead and build them. If they sold a box set of about 100 of these, I would be happy. Oops, almost forgot this. And this. Man, I haven't built in a while. Yes, more of these. More. That's pretty cool. That's not so cool. One kneecap. That must have been the first thing to go when they reviewed the parts counts of all of these. Things just got weirder. Hey, there's his kneecap. It's a dramatic increase in bone size. Chopsticks. This step is legendary. What you doing, bud? Just jam into my headphones, man. Mouth closing hacks. Oh my god. After reviewing the instructions, it's clear that I did attach this armor piece incorrectly. So let's go ahead and swap that, and hopefully no one will comment on it. JK, I know all of you will. So there you have it, folks. It's the elusive Quake Beast. Just taking a step back and looking at the overall persona of the figure, you can obviously tell there's quite a bit of asymmetry going on here. From elements as small as mismatching armor pieces to elements as bulky and massive as his right arm, there's just asymmetry galore here, and it'll be up to personal opinion whether you like that or not, but we'll go through each portion, and maybe once you look at each section in isolation, when you pull back again at the end and look at the figure, you may have a different view on it. The overall color scheme looks very contrasty, to put it lightly. The purple and yellow really shout against each other. It really takes opening your mind a bit to accept this color scheme, and looking at it the first time, you probably will not accept this color scheme. Without further ado, let's get started at looking at some of the core features of this model. Unless you've been living under a rock the last 2 years, you can probably guess that this is a mask and that it pops off with his brain stock. You can either hit the brain stock here and it flies right off, or if you can stay on your feet long enough to endure his shattering earthquake, you can hook your weapon underneath his jaw and dislodge the mask that way. With all the beautiful trans purple in this figure, I still can't help but dislike the solid purple on the mask. I understand you wouldn't want to really put two trans colors together, as far as I've seen in all the official Bionicle sets they have yet to do that, but it just looks odd to me. The head is attached to a Glatorian head, which looks good at most angles. This would be the only angle where it doesn't look great, but with all the extra attachments on his shoulders, it's hard to even see that angle. As with a lot of these beasts, the head is not very poseable. It can do some left to right motions. It can't really look down because of the jaw hitting the chest plate. It also can't really look up because of the brainstalk hitting the Glatorian neck. Anyone who's familiar with the Hero Factory line may have saw this as an analogy to the Bruiser character. And you had to wonder when looking at the official artwork for it whether or not that right arm would be as solid looking in person as it looked on the box. Fortunately, it is a lot more solid than one might anticipate, but it really looks its best at an angle like this. As you start to turn Quake Beast, you'll start to see some gearing, some levers, and some oddities on the right-hand side of him. What that is it's a crankshaft tied to the right arm, using the 2015 gearbox we had. As you can see, that gearbox is turned on its side. Simply by turning this gear shaft clockwise, you can clock your enemies that way. It's a little bit cooler from the front, where you see him really sweeping across. And this is a good time to bring up the little bumper on his shoulder, that third purple crystalline piece. It's almost like a bumper that just kind of smashes it in his face and tells him it's time to stop punching. This is kind of strange to me. This would be a good time to comment on the fact that I'm not a huge fan of this sideways gearbox mechanism on his back. Attached to the crankshaft assembly is this trans neon greenish yellow cylindrical piece. On that they attach many things. They attach 2 half pins, I guess just to fill in those holes. I don't like that. I don't know why they're doing that. There's no reason why they need to fill that hole. It serves no purpose. It's just silly to me. And then in the other axle hole that's not holding the gearing in place, there is a triangular shaped axle that has these 2 blades protruding and crossing the backside of his neck. When you use the crankshaft, these seamlessly work their way around his head without interfering. To what end and what purpose these are, I have no idea. They may just be plumage to show his menacing figure to make him slightly taller, or they may be some kind of blades to stop rocks and debris from falling on him as he causes quakes. While we're looking at this right arm, it is also his weapon. On the end of it you have this half mace in trans purple, and it's almost like a boxing glove where he can really just punch his enemies and just send them flying. This is also how he starts his quakes, by punching the side of a cave wall or the base of the cave floor. He can cause earthquakes. He could also do this on the surface, of course. At the time of the recording of this video, there isn't an official description for Quake Beast that I can find, so I don't really know what to call this. So for the remainder of this video, we're just going to call it a Quake Starter. So the Quake Starter also has a sub-mechanism in it. It's not that complex, but you just grab this and spin it. And that's a fun little additional thing to do. And despite there being virtually no friction in this, it'll pretty much stay where you want it. In my opinion, the right Quake Starter arm does not quite have enough friction to my liking. Merely by moving the figure back and forth, the arm will move on its own. In most circumstances, this is okay, but I always like to be able to pick up and handle my figures a little more intense. A kid who's trying to kind of bash this figure back and forth is going to have trouble with it swinging around, maybe breaking pieces off as it does. His other shoulder is similarly strange in that it has one of these shadow traps connected to it. This has a really good range of motion. You can turn it all the way back and almost make it a backpack of sorts, or you can bring it all the way front and make it a pauldron. Either way, this thing can go about 90 degrees back and forth, and also can open up all the way, so you can almost have a platter for your main course, which in this case would be Onua's corrupted mask. On his other arm, Quake Beast has a rudimentary hand with 3 appendages on it. And it's just a generic hand, 1 thumb, 2 fingers, and you can really just look at this as something for grabbing. He can grab the mask, or maybe to brace himself as the quakes come through. As I stated previously, the chest plate does a good job of honing in all the colors on this figure, except that purple on his face. I think that's what the magenta's for, but it just doesn't cut it. Again, I don't really like 3D printing on a 2-dimensional surface, so you take it for what it is. Quake Beast's waist gear. Wait a minute. No waist gear. Okay, never mind. Because it doesn't use the waist-articulated internal body structure that some of the other figures does, the waist kind of looks flat to me. Most of the old Hero Factory and the first wave of Gen 2 Bionicle sets had these kind of flat-looking, no angled waists. And there's nothing really wrong with that, but I've gotten so accustomed to the little build-up here that now that I look at it this way, it kind of looks awkward to me. The right leg is predominantly purple, while the left leg is predominantly black. And that works in tandem with the upper body, where the right side has tons and tons of trans purple on it. Here's how you know if you have obsessive compulsive disorder. Look at those kneecaps. What's missing on one of them? A kneecap. That's right. Why did they remove that one kneecap and allow it? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't follow with the cohesive theme of this figure, where the right side is more bulked up than the left. Why have more parts on the left side when the right side has more parts everywhere else on the figure? And why not add in that one Borak eye and cut your losses? Really, come on. A running theme with the 2016 Beast is a custom lower leg, and this one is no exception. The exception is, however, I think I like this one the best of all. It really just kind of looks solid to me and doesn't have any issues. Obviously the red axles are an eyesore. If you're playing with Lego Bionicle, just get used to it. Like, can't reiterate that every single time. I think the only problem with the whole legs is maybe the foot itself. This is the only Beast figure that does not have any kind of additional stabilizing on the back part of the foot. Another thing I find kind of odd with this is the connection point here. There's nothing wrong with the connection itself, but there's just not enough friction in my opinion to hold up the upper body. A couple times now I've had it just kind of keel over on me. Anything just slightly beyond the straight up and down pose will just fall backward. The back of Quake Beast looks about as good as any other villain that's come out currently. It's kind of mishmash. Some sections are okay, other sections are wide open and exposed. Again, the only complaint would be that sideways gearbox that just stands out. Comparing Quake Beast to 2016 Onua isn't all that fair. 2016 Onua is massive and imposing, and with that giant hammer, I don't know that Quake Beast could survive against him. That being said, Quake Beast is not a lone wolf. Instead, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of Quake Beasts running rampant in the underground regions of Akoto. So, if Onua turns the wrong corner in a cavern, he may have to create his own tunnel to get out, because these things might swarm him faster than he can fight them off. While we're looking at Onua, let's go ahead and pop off his standard mask and replace it with the corrupted, depleted, or infected version of it. As with all the infected masks when they're applied to the Toa, they just do not look right. I think Onua here doesn't look so bad because of all the gold he has on him, but it's still awkward enough to know that that mask isn't supposed to be on him. At least not like that. Just for reference, here are all 3 of Onua's masks side by side. So what do you think of Quake Beast? Have you come to grips with the color scheme, or will it never please your eyes? Is the action feature worth some of the awkward build elements that are required to make that happen? What about all those unnecessary attachments on the shoulders? Would you have kept them, or do you think you could have done a better design with that? I'm going to be doing a wrap-up video showcasing all the Summer 2016 sets, so I'll reserve judgment on how I feel about each and every one of them as a whole. But I will say that I do like this figure probably a little bit more than I thought I would. I was very skeptical coming into it, and I don't think it's that bad. But those are just my thoughts on the matter. Please feel free to comment your thoughts, and as always, thanks for watching.